And now, here's your host of Shaping Success, Wes Tankersley.
What is up, everyone? Welcome to Shaping Success. I'm your host, Wes Tankersley. Just a little solo episode. We missed doing an episode this morning. Robert and I usually do it, working on kind of like a different name and things like that. So, interesting situation. If you're joining us live on TikTok, please make sure that you like, share, subscribe, tap that screen, help us to keep it going. It has been a long ride for me, and getting close to 400 episodes. It's crazy. It is seriously amazing how many damn episodes that I have done of this podcast. And there's a lot of things that are different. You know, when I started out, I was just interviewing people left and right and trying to show people what success looks like, how you can create it for yourself, how you can do those things. And so it was great having people here interviewing them and things like that. But now it's kind of shifted to a little bit of a, motivational talk between Robert and I and how we are doing things in our lives and pushing forward. Me being Gen X, him being a baby boomer, having different walks of life. I've been called a boomer before too, which I think is kind of funny. I don't know if you guys remembered when TikTok first started, it was kind of funny because I was one of the, not very first, I wasn't on here when it was Musically, but I've been on here for probably 3 or 4 years. And originally, if you would post something or you would say something like, I was to work 15 minutes early, and if you're not 15 minutes early, you're 10 minutes late, and they'd be like, okay, boomer, because it's not a cool thing to be on time to work. But anyway, that's kind of the funny thing. We are the people who are, kind of driving this country right now. We've got these young kids coming up, and they think they know it all, but we'll show them. Anyway, I just got back from California. I went on a trip. For those of you who know, I was born in California, but I have been in Idaho for over 30 plus years. So it's kind of interesting to kind of see how things have changed so much down there that it's just crazy. First of all, I don't like going there. I've had enough of it. It's just not somewhere that I like to be. It's pretty interesting to kind of see how things go, but I go because I have to. My mother-in-law was getting married. Kind of a fun little, I say fun, that's sarcasm, because no wedding is fun for me, but we went to a little wedding down there. I opted I got to work. So if I miss work, I don't make money. So I decided that, hey, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to roll out. I'm going to go down there real quick for the weekend. I'm going to come back up. My wife is down there, which, God bless her, that woman. She's amazing with those kids because she has taken 2 kids, one in a car seat, one who is 11 years old and fights you on everything, and drove her all the way, or took them all the way down there, and she packs way too much, and she carries that thing, and she goes to car rental place and all that stuff, and she does all that leg work. I don't know. I wouldn't do it. But I had to work. I tried to get back so that I could work tomorrow. She's coming back tomorrow. I'm going to work all day tomorrow and work the rest of the week, but missing a day of work could be pretty costly for me. So anyway, Saturday morning, I got on a plane and I flew down to Monterey. I got on there, and it was interesting because you cannot fly. There's not a direct flight from Boise. Boise is kind of a smaller airport, but there is no direct flight to Monterey, which is a very small airport. It's amazing. I've never flown into there before. I've looked at it from the outside when I was a little kid. I was, you'd watch the planes land and stuff like that, but it's got like 5 or 6 gates, and they're tiny. And there is no like getting on the airplane from the terminal like you do. In most places, you just walk right out to the plane, get on the plane, and go. So it's pretty crazy. Someone was telling me this morning I got a car ride, which was really interesting. I ended up in an Uber this morning with a guy who was about a year younger than me, and he actually went to the same elementary school that I went to when I lived down there when I was a little kid before we moved. And it was funny because we talked a little bit about the mission school. We talked about my cousins because he knew them. He went to King City High School, which is another city that's really close. And it was just an interesting conversation there at 3:50 in the morning in a Mercedes. The guy drove me in a Mercedes Uber car to the airport. Kind of crazy. He lived in King City, which is like 2 hours south of San Francisco, and that's what he does for a living, is he drives Uber for that. So kind of crazy, kind of interesting how those things happen in life, and you end up in these certain situations where you're like, It's amazing, So that was kind of cool. Starting off though, I had to fly. So back to the plane ride. It was funny. I flew to Seattle, and then from Seattle, it's a direct flight to Monterey. But when I got to Seattle, I had a little 2-hour layover, and there was some interesting things. Like I am an observer. I see a lot of things. I pay attention to a lot of things that are going on, and it's kind of interesting. There were some interesting things going on in Seattle, and Monterey Airport is a little bit smaller. I didn't notice as much like there that I would have noticed in other places. But one of the things that really was interesting to me is walking into a men's bathroom and having a lady product dispenser in the men's bathroom. I was blown away. I couldn't believe that. I had to send a picture of that to my wife. I was like, whoa, this is crazy. What's going on here? This doesn't make any sense to me. I can't believe that that's the way that things are going, but it was interesting. I saw that, walked around the airport a little bit, went and had a drink, had an old fashioned, pretty interesting. I had probably 3 or 4 old fashioned. I had 3 old fashions at 3 different places. For those of you who know, I'm a bourbon drinker and I like old fashioned. So, the first one that I had, we went to this Italian restaurant, and I don't know how many of you drink bourbon, or drink old fashions, but like the cherries, like when they muddle them, they take this little thing and they mash them up and they stick them in the bottom of the drink. I can't stand that. I don't like it. I'd rather them stick it on the skewer because I don't even like the cherries anyway, but it's more of like a garnish to me than something that's part of the drink. Maybe I'm a weirdo. I don't care. It is what it is. But so the first one that I had, she didn't muddle them. So they were just sitting there. Wasn't a bad one. And then that was actually at the airport. I did a lot of drinking this week and it was kind of interesting. But when you're traveling alone and you're traveling, it's just kind of the way it is. But I always fly. My wife always gets me the flight on Alaska Airlines, where I get to see it in the business class because there is like 6 more inches of leg room, and I'm 6'3", and it is very uncomfortable to drive it or to fly on that plane. So we basically flew on the same plane every leg of the trip, which was interesting because I was like the plane that I drove in, I flew in today. I was in the same exact seat, 7B on one plane, got off, got on another plane, 7B, same plane. It was all the same size plane or whatever. But yeah, it was kind of an interesting time. So anyway, I went down there. I was in Monterey. I was there for a wedding. My mother-in-law got married, and it was interesting because I felt a lot of things going on there. I don't like being in it. I don't like going to activities like that. I don't like being in social situations. It drives me a little bit crazy, which is interesting because my job requires me to go talk to people one-on-one, which is a little bit different than actually going to like a party or things like that. So it drives me insane to see, to go to these things. And then you're with family, right? And then you're with people you don't know. And then you're just kind of like, it's just a little awkward for me. And I started to think about it, and I started to realize that there are people that I'm around and people that I hang out with that I don't necessarily need to be around. And then I was talking to people about it, and it's like thinking about those social situations, about people who are trying to move you forward and trying to make you better and trying to make things move forward, right? Like my whole goal in life is to be better every single day. That's my goal. That's what I want to do. And you have to put yourself around people who want you to be better. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you have to have the same opinion as them, but they have to challenge you to be stronger and be better. And so I was thinking about my family. I was thinking about my wife's family. I was thinking about all the people that I'm around. And this thing came back to me. And I started to realize that it just kind of resonated with me again, that blood makes you family, but it or makes you related, but it doesn't make you family. The people that you interact with on a daily basis, the people that you're around that drive you to be better and want to see you succeed and want to see you build people up or build yourself up are really what matters. And I had a hard time with that for a while because you want everyone to like you, right? But that doesn't necessarily mean that that's the way it's going to be. And you have to realize that sometimes you have to cut some of those people out of your life. And I don't spend a lot of time with my immediate family. I don't spend a lot of time with my cousins. I don't spend a lot of time with those people. The people that I spend the most time with, my wife, my coworkers, some of my friends I talk to every single day. Nikki's in the live, talk to Jay a lot, talk to AJ a lot. Robert once or twice a week. Those are the people who push me and drive me to want to be who I am, to be better every single day. And I just don't feel like I have to compromise with other people who judge me or tell me that I'm doing something that they don't think is right. And I run into that a lot with some people who try to tell me that I don't parent the way that they want them to, or I'm this or I'm that. And people see you make a decision with your child or with your wife, but they don't know the whole situation of the story, and they're making a snap judgment on a 30-second, 30-minute interaction with you. And that drives me insane. And I've decided that I don't really have to worry what those people think. And that's what's going to kind of set you free. If you can realize that no matter what happens, no matter what is said, all you have to do is live up to who you're supposed to be to you. That's it. And we get lost a lot of times that we're trying to live up to other people's expectations. It doesn't matter. Other people's expectations are not yours. And you don't have to live up to their expectations. You have to live up to yours. So I was reminded of that. And that was just kind of one of the things that I was sitting there and I'm like, you know what? Here we are. I'm watching my son run around and he's going crazy. He's 2 and he goes everywhere. And I'm watching him run around. And someone that I knew, I said something. I was like, have you seen my son? I was like, you know what? I was watching Nolan. I'm looking around. I don't see him. He kind of disappeared. He was with his mom. I knew he was, but I wasn't quite sure. And I kept watching back and forth. I was having a conversation with someone, was interacting with someone. I look out and he's gone. And I look over and I was like, do you know where Christina Nolan went? He was just out there and I was watching him, and she just kind of laughed and she goes, oh yeah, great dad. And I'm just sitting there going, you know what? You have no clue. You have no clue who you are. And what you find is that a lot of people will judge you based on their insecurities, because that's how they feel as a parent, or that's how they feel as something else. But they're trying to tell you how to parent your child when every single kid is different and they have their own little situation that they're dealing with. So I just can't stand that. It drives me insane. And it seems like the majority of those people who judge like that or act like that are people that are related to me. And it makes me crazy. So anyway, that was a little bit of fun there, but then I started to think about it again, and it's like there's a reason why I don't need to be around these people. I don't have to be around people who are family just because they are blood. Just because they're blood doesn't mean that they're family. They are just related. So anyway, that was kind of that portion. This morning I got up. It is 5:57 p.m., which I got up at 3:50 Pacific time, which is, wow, 2:50 my time, to get on an airplane to go fly to San Diego this morning. So that was an interesting thing. I got into San Diego, kind of flew in there. I found out that in San Diego, if you have to use the bathroom, good luck, because there is no chance of actually getting in that thing at the airport, or at 6 a.m, because everyone seems to be taking their time at the airport. Or that's their wake up time, or they just had their morning coffee. I don't know. But there was lines out the door. I couldn't believe it. Either they don't have enough bathrooms at the airport, or everyone was really needing to use the bathroom this morning. That was kind of funny. And who wants to go to the bathroom on an airplane, which is kind of a pain in the butt, especially when you're 6'3" and you're walk in there and you're like that in the airplane stall. I don't like flying very much anyway. I wish that I could just like take a sleep every single time I got on there, like just push the button and pass out. But so San Diego was fun. We got back. I got onto the plane. So I wanted to talk about the seat etiquette on an airplane. It's kind of funny because every time I get on an airplane, I make sure that I have an aisle seat. That's where I'm going. I need to sit in the aisle. I don't want to sit next to the window in case I do have to actually go into that tiny little bathroom. I want to be able to just get up and walk down the aisle. I don't like crawling over people to get where I want to go. And so I always get the aisle seat. Today, when I got on the plane, I walked in there, and the lady who is supposed to be sitting next to the window is sitting in the aisle seat. And it's kind of weird to me because, again, I'm an observing person, and I was kind of looking at it and I thought it was kind of weird. But she's sitting in my seat. And I know it's my seat because I got the aisle seat. And I've sat in the same B seat all the way for 4 flights. I was in 7B or 8B. Those were the 2 different ones that I was in. I think I was actually in 6B on one. No, I wasn't, because that's the front one that has even more room. But I was in 7B or 8B, which is business class. And the gal was sitting in my seat, and I said, "I'm sorry, you're in my seat." So it was kind of funny. She's like, "Oh no, isn't this B?" And I was like, "There's a picture right there next to the sticker, and it has a window right next to A, and then it has nothing next to B. So like, you know that you're next to the window seat." And maybe she's never flown before, or maybe she is sitting in my seat, wanted the aisle, but ended up with the window and was thinking, "Oh, maybe this guy will just get on and say, hey, no, that's not want to say anything." And the only reason I thought that was because when I told her that, I was like, "Oh no, I think that's my seat. I'm in the aisle." She's like, "Oh yeah," she asked that question and she moved over. And then the guy next to me said, "Hey, did you tell the guy that he was in your seat?" Kind of like popping off that there was a person who had behind me who had done the same thing but didn't say anything, right? Like, "This is my seat," or didn't say anything, just sat down where they were in the other seat because they thought that was the way that was supposed to be, just trying to be nice. But it was kind of funny. She moved over, whatever, sat down. Some guy comes in who's sitting in front of me in the next, and it's funny because I was only going for 2 days, so I took my backpack. Had my backpack, had my clothes in it and all that stuff, and I'm just stuffing it underneath the chair in front of me. Didn't want to use overhead space, didn't want to check a bag, didn't want to have to deal with that stuff. And this other guy comes in, he's got 2 bags. He's got a carry-on and his backpack. And his backpack has a water bottle in it that is open. He takes it off and he flings it around, and it gets water all over me. So, the lady was in my seat, then I got water all over me. And he says something that just I despise. I can't stand it. I think it's insane that people talk this way. And maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just an old grouchy man. But he goes, "Oh, my bad. It's just water." And I'm like, "My bad." I hate that. I hate "my bad." My bad is like the worst. Why can't you just say, "I'm sorry, man. I didn't mean to do that. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't realize that it wasn't open. My bad. It's just water." That was it. And I'm just like, it's all right. Don't worry about it. No big deal. But I was thinking that it's like, God, I hate that "my bad." I hate when people say "my bad." It's insane. And so the lady next to me that has just moved over in this other seat got a little bit of water in there, a little bit of water on her, but I got it all over me. So it was kind of funny little joke, because about 5 minutes later, we're sitting there, and I don't know how many of you have been at the airport or in the airplane, and you know how they have the little air vents, and you twist that little knob and it lets out clean air. Well, sometimes clean. I don't know. A lot of people say it's clean, but it's not really clean, I don't think. I think or you hear it's dirty or whatever. Anyway, the air is coming out of there, and I've been in there a couple times, and it gets condensation built up inside that little thing. And when you twist it, it opens up, and because there's condensation in there, it has a little bit of built up ice, and that thing hit me with ice. Like a little piece of ice came out. She's like, "Man, what was that?" She's like kind of goofy, and I had seen it before. Like, I'd been on a plane before when it happened, and I knew that that's what it was. Because I think it's just a little condensation build up as ice, and it just came flying out of the thing. And she's like, "Oh, that's funny." She goes, "Everything is hitting you today." So you'd think that no big deal. That's what it was. It is what it is. Water on me, ice on me. And then we get in the air, and we're on the plane, and I'm watching a movie. I actually watched Morbius, which I don't know if you guys if anyone knows what Morbius is, but it's a Marvel movie with Jared Leto where he actually is he's a vampire, or he turns himself into a vampire. So I watched that. I told myself I wasn't going to watch it, and I was pleasantly surprised by what Morbius, how it turned out as a movie. I thought it was actually pretty decent. I thought it was going to be a lot worse than what it was, and it wasn't. It was actually a pretty good movie. So I was watching that, and then, the drink gal comes by. It's time for, they get the drink service when you get up in the air and you get going, and it's time for drinking. Um, she hands me, or she asked me if I want anything, and I told her what I wanted. And then as she's putting the ice in the cup, she dumps ice on me. It was like, and at this point, this is like number 3 or whatever. And it's not that big of a deal. It's a big piece of ice. And I look over at the lady. The lady starts laughing. I start joking with the flight attendant, and it was kind of a funny situation where that had happened. And then other than that, it was pretty much that was it. That was kind of the last thing that really happened on there. But I don't know. It was kind of an interesting trip, observing a lot of things, seeing a lot of things, a lot of interesting situations that happen when you are around people, and kind of how they carry themselves and what they do. And yeah, that's kind of my recap of what it was. That's pretty much all I got for you guys. I wanted to put out an episode and kind of talked about where I was, because this morning we didn't do the podcast, and I'm going to say this kind of jokingly, and it's not like it really matters that we missed an episode this morning, because no one's really listening. But that's kind of the way it feels right now. I have had this podcast for 4 years now. We do get about 11 downloads, but I refuse to quit. I refuse to stop. I'm going to continue to do it no matter what. I don't really care what people think. I know that there are great people who are supportive, just like Nikki, who is, yes, we know you're listening, Nikki. There are great people who listen to it and watch it and are there for it every single day. And so if you're new, if this is the first time catching it, what I'd appreciate you doing is just going and giving it an honest review on Apple Podcasts. Go watching it, comment on a post on TikTok, comment on a post on Instagram, comment on a post on YouTube, wherever you are, subscribe. Make sure that you share an episode if you hear one that people, need to hear, that they like. We're trying to find a way to help people stay motivated. And it's a really big niche. It's a real big place where a lot of people are at, and a lot of people are trying to do the same thing. And so, just remember, if there are those people out there that you enjoy what they're doing, support them however you can. Even if it's just a comment on a post, or sharing a post, or reposting, or whatever you can do, because it really helps the word get out there, and we really appreciate it. If you want to join the Patreon, you can go to or go to patreon.com/Wes Tankersley. Go join the Patreon for as little as a couple bucks a month. You can help support the show. You can help me get new equipment, things like that. I don't know what I'm going to get next. My friend Jay, who this Hard Parking podcast, you should go check that one out. He just got a new mic arm. I don't really need any of those, but I do want to kind of get a couple chairs maybe in here so that I can do some in-person interviews if I choose to do that again at some point. Come join us on Instagram at One Drink Wednesday. Go follow the at One Drink Wednesday on TikTok. Follow at Jay Finning or at Hard Parking Podcast on here too, so that we can get that there. I'm almost to 500 on the One Drink Wednesday account, so we can go live on TikTok. We've been doing it on Instagram. We gave it a dedicated Instagram page. So anything that you do that is free, sharing, reposting, all that stuff is very helpful. So I appreciate you all. I thank you for taking the time to hang out with me. And we'll catch you on the next episode Wednesday we do it live on YouTube on Wednesdays, or Mondays and Wednesdays at 5:00 Mountain Time, which is 7 Eastern. You guys can do the time on the rest of that. But until next time, I challenge you to find the shape of your success.